When you think about mid-engine supercar, you think European, Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini. But America? Well, you can add that to the list now because here is the Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. Welcome to Four Wheels and a Seat. My name is Alex Dalrymple. This is my channel where I review new cars every week, normally for people who are looking for a new car and don't know which one to get. But if you're watching this particular review, I think you have a fair idea about what you're going to see. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, the notification bell, and if you enjoy the video, please do give me a like. This particular example of the Stingray is a mid-spec 3LT, so it picks up a few nicer interior bits that the 2LT doesn't get, but otherwise they're pretty well identical. Now I reckon if this was the 1980s, these headlights would be popping up out of the bonnet, but instead they're static, they're LED, and they look really good. Sits very low to the ground, got to be careful of those speed humps. 19-inch wheels at the front, 20s at the back with Brembo brakes, providing a lot of stopping power there. This particular car is a convertible. There is also a coupe available. The convertible gets a hard top that retracts on top of the engine, pops out at the push of a button. Moving around the back here, black spoiler, which is an option on US spec cars, but here in Australia it is standard kit. L-shaped LED lights. We've got some air vents here for the engine and 4 big exhausts that make an absolutely awesome noise. The world's tiniest boot here as well at the back, which we can open with a couple of button pushes here on the remote. Not a whole heap of storage space there, probably perfect for a couple having a weekend away, and that's probably about it. So, some additional storage at the front as well in the frunk. At the front, obviously no engine, but there is a small storage space. But curiously, there's actually an emergency escape button here. I'm wondering who exactly is going to be small enough to get stuck in there that's going to need to push that button in order to get out. Is that like a weird American law that cars have to have that? I don't know. Also a 12-volt power outlet here too, and an LED light. Maybe there's a button under here somewhere. But how do you open the engine compartment? Okay, YouTube.
Access to your engine bay.
Right, okay.
Right there.
You really can't get to the engine. That's basically it. Okay. That's how you do it. It is really not very obvious. As you can see, I had to close the hard top, but then stop closing it at just the moment before this starts closing. And then to look at the engine, you've actually got to get a screw and unscrew all of these to actually have a look at the V8 engine underneath. So not a lot to see, unfortunately. It is indeed a V8 that outputs 369 kilowatts of power and 637 Newton meters of torque, propelling it to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.5 seconds. Average fuel economy comes in at 13.5 liters per 100 kilometers, not exactly efficient. I'm not going to tell you what I've been getting this week, but it's been a lot more than that. Power goes to the rear wheels only via an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. Being a reasonably tall person, this car is perhaps not really designed for me, so getting in and out gracefully is, well, a chore. You gotta be pretty flexible. The cockpit is probably the most driver-centric I have been in any car. Everything is angled towards me and it's all easy reach, easy to touch everything, get to what you need to get to. And actually, you know, being that I'm 190 centimeters tall, I actually fit in here okay. I mean, look, it is cozy. It's not the most spacious interior, but I'm not really squashed in that much. The center console screen is only 8 inches. It is quite small, but it's really easy to use. Like, this software is really well designed, and the small screen actually means you can actually make adjustments really quickly without having to sort of fuss around too much. There's wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. There's also some very nice graphics when you change driving modes. It looks a bit like a PlayStation game, and the reversing camera and the front camera vision is pretty good too, including a see-through mode, so you can actually see how close to the curb your front wheels are so you don't scratch them. Climate controls have been moved from the center here to the side, which is again something I've never seen in any other car before, but makes total sense because it does mean that it takes up less room. And generally speaking, the driver controls are up here on top, passenger are on the bottom. I mean, this does take a little bit of getting used to, but if this was your car, you'd be used to it in no time at all. It's actually quite a smart system. Under the center screen, we've got a row of buttons here for the front camera, the raising and lowering of the nose of the car, which you need to do whenever you go over a speed hump, as well as the traction control. Drive mode selector here. There's a few different drive modes you can cycle through, plus your own My Mode button, where you can customize various aspects of the drive. Gear selector here is a push button. You lift up for reverse and lift up for drive, push button for park, neutral, and the manual. Cup holders, a little center console bin here with a USB-A and USB-C port, wireless phone charging here in the middle, which is actually quite ingenious because it means you don't get distracted by your phone, and it also takes up less room. Head-up display on the windshield is nice and bright. There's a few different display modes, and it is also completely compatible with polarized sunglasses, which is a rare thing. The dashboard materials up here are leather wrapped with stitching. It feels really nice. Very premium interior here in this 3LT. The steering wheel I love. It is suede wrapped and has a really nice feel to it with this flat top, flat bottom. So when you're cornering, you can really get a good hold of it. Only problem is with my legs, it does kind of mean that it almost hits my knee here, especially if my hand gets stuck there. So that's just something I need to be a little bit wary of. We've got paddle shifters on the back here to manually override the gearbox, and also controls here for your adaptive cruise control, volume, all the regular stuff that you find on any other steering wheel. The seats are leather. These are the GT racing seats with leather accents and suede. They are heated and cooled. There is also full electric adjustment as well as lumbar support, and actually they are very comfortable. You don't get uncomfortable at all in these when you spend a lot of time behind the wheel. There's also some carbon fiber accents here too, which look really, really nice. The seating position, of course, is nice and low in the cabin, although you can't really go much lower than you already are. The problem for me being tall, of course, is that the top of the windshield here does partially obstruct my view, and when the roof is on, I have next to no headroom at all, and my head does hit the ceiling there. So it is actually not just about being a nice, airy experience having the roof off, it's also necessary for me because otherwise I don't really quite fit. We've got a premium Bose sound system here too, which has got some nice metal speakers here on the door. They look pretty cool. The doors themselves are operated by a push button, which has tricked a few of my passengers recently. You need to sort of push the button and then physically push the door open, but there are also door opening switches down here on the floor if you want to override those. So all up, as a tourer and as a supercar, this is a really nice cabin. Even just starting the engine of this car is an event because it makes so much noise. And it is possible to be a bit self-conscious driving this because so many people turn their heads to look at you, but you know what, they're not looking at you, they're looking at the car. There is just so much power, and the engine roars, and it just wants to keep going. Very easy to accidentally get a speeding ticket, I think. Does life get any better than this? I'm not entirely sure it does. There are a number of different drive modes, including weather, which kind of really dulls everything down and makes it a bit safer for wet weather. My Mode, which is your customizable mode. You can change a number of the different attributes of the car's performance. Tour, which is really designed for daily driving on normal roads. Sport, if you're a little bit more enthusiastic and you enjoy some extra noise. And then there's Track Mode, which is as the name suggests, really only designed for the track, probably not so good on public roads. I like my mode where I've got the engine set to its most aggressive, same with the sound, but I've got the suspension nice and soft because I like my back. Having said that though, it's still reasonably firm, and you don't really want to be going over potholes in this thing because it's not very comfortable. 0 to 100 in the Chevrolet Corvette Stingray is 3.5 seconds. Let's have a feel what that is like. Whoa! Holy crap! Wow! That was an event. I mean, you can do that in an electric car and it might do it faster and in a bit more of a linear fashion, but you don't get that epic soundtrack or just the feel of that V8. That was amazing. This is the Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, a turn-back car, a car so good looking that you have to turn back and look at it after you've parked it. What sort of a stupid question is that? Are you blind? Okay, let's hear some more of that glorious noise as we get onto the freeway here. And who said money can't buy happiness? I'm not entirely sure life gets much better than this. I think this could be it. Driving doesn't get much better than this, that's for sure. The quality of the cabin is very good, but I have noticed just a few little things that aren't great. For starters, there's a bit of bubbling going up here on the dashboard. The leather looks like it's kind of pulling away a little bit. I don't know whether it's gotten damp or something, but that's not great. And also down here, down near my left leg, there's a bit of carpet coming away from the plastic. Otherwise, it's pretty impressive. I used to get very self-conscious driving convertibles around, but you quickly come to the realization, especially when you're driving this car, that no one's really looking at you, they're just looking at the car. The gearbox is awesome. It's an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, and it just changes gears so incredibly quickly and smoothly, and in automatic mode, it's always where you need it to be. It's never in the wrong gear. I mean, you can change gears manually, of course, with the paddle shifters, but you don't often need to. Is this a good car for the city? Yeah, but it does get a bit frustrating driving this in bumper-to-bumper traffic. As somebody said to me this week, this is a Gold Coast car, and I think that actually hits the nail on the head. It would fit in there beautifully. There is a bit of a tired cliche that American cars are no good at cornering and are only great in a straight line, but that is not my experience at all with this. It corners beautifully. It stays really flat, feels like it's really hugging the road. Dynamically, it feels great. The Corvette Stingray is an epic amount of fun to drive, and if you want to go even faster, then you can always check out the hybrid version. It costs an extra 60 grand, but it comes with all-wheel drive and a 2.9 second 0 to 100 time. But if you can't quite stretch the budget for that, it is hard to think of a way to have more fun on the road with the top down than one of these.